A fortune in disguise, the morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Sarah's apartment, casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. She sat at a kitchen table, staring at the engagement ring that had once sparkled with promise on her finger. Now, it lay cold and lifeless beside her untouched coffee cup, a symbol of dreams that had crumbled overnight. 3 weeks ago, her world had been perfect. Bradley Thompson, her of 2 years, was everything her family had hoped for. He came from old money, wore expensive suits, and spoke about their future with the confidence of a man who had never known uncertainty. Their wedding was planned for next month at the country club where her parents had been members for decades. But yesterday, everything changed. "I can't do this anymore, Sarah," Bradley had said, his voice echoing in the empty ballroom where they were supposed to have their reception. "My father thinks you're not suitable for our family's image. Your background, your job at the community center, it's not what we need right now." The words had hit her like ice water. Not suitable. After 2 years of trying to fit into his world, of changing herself piece by piece, she still wasn't enough. The wedding invitations had already been sent. The deposits were paid. And now, she was alone with nothing but the bitter taste of rejection. Sarah picked up the ring and held it to the light. The diamond caught the morning sun, throwing tiny rainbows across the white walls. She thought about returning it, about facing Bradley's family one more time. The idea made her stomach turn. Instead, she slipped the ring into her purse and walked outside. The city was waking up around her. Street vendors were setting up their carts, and the familiar sounds of traffic and conversation filled the air. She walked without direction, letting her feet carry her wherever they wanted to go. The weight of a situation pressed down on her shoulders like a heavy coat. After an hour of walking, she found herself in front of City Hall. People streamed in and out of the building, carrying papers, looking official and important. She sat on the concrete steps and watched them, wondering what urgent business brought them here on a Tuesday morning. "Excuse me? Are you okay?" Sarah looked up to see a man standing beside her. He was tall and lean, with kind brown eyes and clothes that had seen better days. His jeans were faded, his t-shirt was plain, and his sneakers looked like he'd walked many miles in them. But his smile was warm and genuine. "I'm fine," she said automatically, then shook her head. "Actually, no, I'm not fine at all." The stranger sat down beside her, keeping a respectful distance. "Sometimes it helps to talk to someone who doesn't know your story," he said quietly. "I'm Marcus, by the way. Marcus Chun. Sarah Williams." She studied his face, looking for any sign of judgment or pity. She found neither. "I was supposed to get married next month. Now, I'm not. And I'm sitting on the steps of City Hall like some kind of lost person." Marcus nodded slowly. "That sounds incredibly difficult. I'm sorry you're going through this." There was something about his voice that made her want to keep talking. Maybe it was because he was a complete stranger, or maybe it was because he didn't try to fix everything with quick words of comfort. "The worst part," she continued, "is that I feel like I wasted 2 years of my life trying to become someone I am not, and it still wasn't enough." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the city move around them. Sarah felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. When was the last time someone had just listened to her without trying to solve her problems? "You know what's funny?" Marcus said eventually. "I come here sometimes when I need to think. There's something about this place that makes everything feel ... possible." Sarah looked at the imposing building behind them. "City Hall makes you feel hopeful, in a way." "Yes. Think about all the new beginnings that happen here. People starting businesses, getting married, becoming citizens. It's a place where lives change." "People get married here?" Sarah asked. "Sure. Quick courthouse weddings happen all the time. Sometimes the most meaningful moments are the simplest ones." And crazy idea began to form in Sarah's mind. It was ridiculous, impulsive, and completely unlike her usual, careful nature. But sitting here, having lost everything she thought she wanted, maybe ridiculous, was exactly what she needed. "Marcus," she said slowly, "I know how it sounds. We just met. You don't know anything About me? But my life just fell apart. And maybe I need to do something completely different. Something real, instead of something that looks good on paper. Marcus blinked, clearly taken aback. I'm sorry. What? I was hoping, Sarah continued, her voice shaking a little, that maybe you could help me start that new beginning. If you wanted to. If you wanted to. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, studying her face. Sarah, are you sure you're thinking clearly? This is a big decision. I've never been more sure of anything, she said, surprised by the truth in her own words. I spent 2 years trying to be perfect for someone who didn't really want me. Maybe it's time to try being myself with someone who might. But you don't know me, Marcus said gently. I could be anyone. So could he, Sarah replied. And look how that turned out! At least you sat with me when I was sad. At least you listened. Marcus looked at her for a long time, and Sarah saw something shift in his expression. Understanding? Maybe. Or recognition of someone else who needed a new beginning. Okay, he said quietly. If you're really sure, then okay. 2 hours later, they stood in a small room inside City Hall, holding hands in front of a justice of the peace. Sarah had called her sister Emma, who arrived breathless and confused but willing to be a witness. Marcus had called someone named David, who showed up in a suit that looked expensive but didn't ask any questions. Do you, Sarah Williams, take Marcus Chun to be your husband? Sarah looked into Marcus's eyes and saw kindness there, and honesty, and something that might have been hope. I do. Do you, Marcus Chun, take Sarah Williams to be your wife? I do, Marcus said, and his voice was steady and sure. They exchanged simple gold bands that they bought from a jewelry store down the street. When the justice of the peace pronounced them married, Marcus kissed her gently, and Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in months. Peace. Afterward, they walked to a small cafe and shared coffee and pie, talking about their lives like old friends. Marcus told her he worked in real estate, that he'd grown up in the city, that he loved old movies and hiking. Sarah told him about her job at the community center, about her love of reading, about the garden she'd always wanted to plant. I should probably tell you something, Marcus said as they finished their second cup of coffee. I'm not exactly ... poor. I live simply because I choose to, but I have money. Quite a lot of it, actually. Sarah looked at his faded jeans and worn sneakers. You don't look like you have money, Marcus smiled. My grandfather started a real estate company. It did very well. I inherited it when he passed away last year. I kept wearing my old clothes because they're comfortable, and because I wanted to know that when someone liked me, it was for me, not for what I could buy them. Sarah felt a laugh bubble up from somewhere deep inside her. So I left a rich man who didn't want me and accidentally married a rich man who does. Life has a sense of humor sometimes, Marcus agreed. But as Sarah looked across the table at her new husband, she realized it wasn't about the money at all. It was about the way he'd sat with her when she was broken. It was about the kindness in his eyes and the gentleness in his voice. It was about choosing someone who chose her back. 6 months later, Sarah planted her first garden in the backyard of the house she and Marcus bought together. As she worked in the rich, dark soil, she thought about new beginnings and the strange ways that life can surprise you. Sometimes the best things happen when you stop trying to plan them. Sometimes love finds you sitting on courthouse steps when you're ready to give up on everything you thought you wanted. And sometimes the person who seems to have nothing is actually the person who has everything that matters.